Good morning, everyone. I'm Lori Ince. I go by her. I've lived and worked in British Columbia my entire life. I love living in BC because I can leave my house and drive anywhere for 5 minutes and be surrounded by nature. Hiking is one of my favorite things to do. I really enjoy overnight hiking. There's just something about the satisfaction you get about hiking up a mountain with your heavy backpack on your back and then setting up camp with just everything that you brought with you and just taking in nature. My other hobbies include kickboxing, weightlifting, anything active outside. One of the most recent TV shows my husband and I watched was Mindhunters on Netflix. It's set in the late 70s and early 80s, and the FBI has a new team or a new department of agents that psychologically profile serial killers that have been caught. So they go into jail and they talk to them and they try and find patterns in their thinking to help them find serial killers that are still at large and still killing. I don't know, I just find it very interesting to kind of get an inside look into the minds of people that have the ability to do such despicable things. And it's all based on real life serial killers. So I found myself all the time after watching each episode doing more research, and even when I finished season 2 I did more research because there's a particular serial killer they're looking for but they haven't found yet, so I wanted to know if that person actually got caught and what they did to actually end up getting caught in the end. My favorite season is summer. I love being out in the sun, being outdoors. I feel like there's just so much more you can do when the weather is decent. So summer, fall. I like to camp as much as possible. I even go camping in the winter, but I enjoy it more when the weather is warmer. My biggest source of joy in my personal life would have to be my dog Molly. She's a chocolate lab. Professionally, probably just getting involved with my students and creating relationships. This is my second year at this school. I teach grade 6, 7 at a middle school, so a lot of my 7s this year were in my class last year as 6s. So I feel like even though it's only week 3, we already kind of have that classroom community because I have the relationship with so many of my students, and they're really helpful for creating that relationship with my incoming new grade 6s. My relationship with teaching and what brought me here. Ever since I was in grade 1, I wanted to be a teacher. My grade 1 teacher, he had these glasses that wrapped around his ears, and we'd always ask him, why do you wear those glasses? And he'd say, so I could do cartwheels, and then he'd do a cartwheel for us, and just something about that fascinated me, and I thought it was just so cool to be a teacher from then on, and that's just kind of the path I followed, and I haven't looked back. Right now, what keeps me engaged in teaching is just knowing that I'm growing as a teacher every year. I don't want to become stagnant, so it's been really exciting to start this program in this past January and to be learning lots and to be implementing what I'm learning into my classroom. I get really excited when I create units and then I get a chance to teach them, but then I get to teach them the following year or the year after that, and then I get to kind of tailor them towards my class, right? I never teach anything the same way twice. Even if I teach it to one of my social studies classes on a Monday, I could change my lesson for a Tuesday for my second social studies class. I like to keep things fresh. My presentation of my professional self. So this summer, one of the courses I completed was 811, which was Innovation in Teaching and Learning. We had to create a philosophy statement, like a teaching philosophy statement. So I thought I would share that with you because it's been about 10 years since I created a cover letter, and this is a little bit more relevant, I would say. So I'll just read that. My philosophy statement is that all students have the right to learn. It is our job as educators to ensure that we are providing the environment that allows for learning to occur. My pedagogy needs to be open and willing to change to suit the diverse and unique needs of my students. I will create an environment that allows for risk-taking, collaboration, and self-discovery. As an educator, I am the facilitator of learning. I will be committed and innovative in my teaching style to ensure that I am creating deep, meaningful, and self-directed learning for all my students. I will provide my students the tools to access information rather than just telling them information, therefore allowing them to create their own understandings. This learning environment fosters critical thinking and inquiry. Students will learn through challenging and questioning the information they are provided. I will create lessons that foster my students' interests, increasing their intrinsic motivation and self-efficacy. My classroom is a hands-on learning environment that encourages students to step outside of their comfort zones and learn through their experiences. I will be open-minded and respectful of my students' unique cultures and values. I will create a classroom environment that values honesty and integrity. I am morally obligated to ensure I am creating a safe and caring community for my students. I will take the time to get to know and respect each of my students as individuals, in turn creating long-lasting relationships. I need to be mindful and reflective of my own practice, as well as historical practices to ensure I am evolving as an educator. I am open and willing to accept change that will benefit my students' learning in terms of technology and other educational practices. I will collaborate with other educators to create a more inclusive learning environment. I will be a model for my students. I will be honest when I make mistakes and show them that it's okay for them to make mistakes as well. I will create empathetic, lifelong learners that are aware of their actions and realize what they accomplish in the present will affect their future. If someone ran into me in a building, first impression, they'd probably think that I'm pretty quiet. I can be shy, for sure, to start off. But if I have a chance to get to know someone and start chatting, I'm a very inviting and caring person. I like to be helpful. I work on a team of 4 grade 6-7 classes, and I think the biggest thing that makes our team run so smoothly is just that we're all so flexible. Nothing is ever set in stone. Things can change all the time. I mean, I think that's a really important skill to have, especially as a middle school teacher. Middle school can be crazy. There are things that come up all the time, out of left field, and if you are unwilling to compromise and sometimes just go with the flow, I think you're going to end up being really frustrated a lot of the time. Sometimes when I first started out, I felt like, there's all these things, like I need to do things a certain way, and now I've realized after 8 years that a little bit more flexibility definitely is very helpful in getting things done. Connections to the course outline and course outcomes. So BC just recently, in the past couple of years, got a redesigned curriculum. It's heavily inquiry-based and puts a lot of emphasis on developing core competencies and creating lifelong learners. So I feel that hopefully this course, especially in Module 1, will help me learn about the context of different curriculums and how to unpack them, and then maybe in turn it'll help me to give me a different view of how to unpack the new BC curriculum. It'll be valuable to look at the curriculum from a different point of view than I have been for the past couple of years, just basically from my admin and from going to professional development in my district. I also know that there are quite a few teachers in this program that are from BC, so I look forward to seeing what their insights are on the redesigned curriculum and just kind of seeing what how they have been unpacking it and what they're getting out of this course to be helpful for it. I'm hoping that in Module 3 I will learn some new skills and ways of looking at the curriculum to strengthen pre-existing units I have and units that I will be making in the future. I look forward to getting a chance to trying out new skills that we learn in the first half of this course in Module 4 and 5. And I found that, in the previous courses that I've taken in this program so far, when I actually get to put the skills that we've been talking about and theorizing about into action is when I feel like I'm learning the most and growing the most, when I get to put that theory into action. And lastly, what we can do that will help make the course more enjoyable. I'm also taking PME 831, which is Innovative Curriculum Planning with Dr. Shula, which I'm really excited about because I really like how he is very organized, how he's laid out all the assignments for both courses, given us a calendar and kind of a schedule that will be beneficial to follow with how many days we should be spending on each thing. And so just what I found so far is just in discussions, if the discussions become more beneficial if rather than just like commenting on someone's post because you have to, if we actually get a chance to have a discussion back and forth and we create more meaningful discussions is really where they become more useful. So I think that's kind of a benefit. It makes it more enjoyable to learn through that. And I think the course will go pretty smoothly as long as everyone's just willing to be a part and participate and be open to new ideas and concepts. I look forward to watching your videos and going through this course. Thanks.